This cover. This is the cover for Green Lantern #1 from 1960. When I first opened up my Silver Age Green Lantern omnibus and was greeted by this cover after you get past the showcase appearances that he's in first, I knew that I'd made a good purchase. Yes, this puppet cover is the first Green Lantern issue, not the first Hal Jordan appearance ever. That one gets him fighting a missile. Greetings, comic lovers, and welcome back to Casually Comics, the channel where we chat all things comics, from comics new and old, to history to anecdotes, really wherever our whims take us. Hal Jordan is the second Green Lantern, though he is the more well-known when compared to the Golden Age Alan Scott. And they do have a different mythos at the start. This because of the changes that went on in DC during the Silver Age, following the rise of the Comics Code, self-regulation, and shifting taste. Lots of facilitated by the rise of the Code. DC reintroduced many of their pre-existing characters, but under new guises. They would have the same names, but they would be different characters and have different backstories. In some cases, only slightly tweaked Flash. So the Green Lantern went from Alan Scott and his costume that somehow works despite all of the colors happening, to Hal Jordan. So how was Hal Jordan, the man who in some circles would come to be known as the greatest Green Lantern, put out as the face of his own comic when that happened? Why, with a cover fighting a giant puppet, of course. Now, in all fairness to the tale Menace of the Giant Puppet, it's not the lead story in the issue. That honor goes to the Planet of Doomed Men, which is the story that gives a cliff notes on the new lore, Abin Sur, Guardians, etc., the proto-lore, as it would be expanded as time went on. This would also establish that Hal had been a Green Lantern for a year. The first story saw Hal saving a planet of primitive humanoids from a giant monster. Hooray! So of course, if you've been here a while, you know that I was more drawn to the puppet. That story, Menace of the Giant Puppet, is written by John Broome with art by Gil Kane, ink Sogia. And while it is a backup story, it has its fair share of entertaining moments. So let's go back to the first Green Lantern issue, to the backup story, and see how menaced we feel. When Green Lantern agreed to appear as the star attraction of a charity parade, he realized that he'd be offering himself as the deadly target for the mysterious marauder known as the Puppetmaster. Yet when the expected attack came, the Green Gladiator found himself hopelessly outmaneuvered, outclassed, and outwitted by his outlaw foe, Menace of the Giant Puppet. Outclassed, I see. The Puppetmaster is a man of culture. Pinkies out for the Puppetmaster. Now you may be thinking, Puppetmaster, that name sounds familiar, because you may have heard of the Fantastic Four Puppetmaster. So who came first? So this Puppetmaster does predate the more well-known one who appears in Fantastic Four #8 in 1962, Alicia's father. The Puppetmaster we're about to see here wouldn't appear over much, and he would also sometimes be called the Puppeteer. Hal calls him both in this issue. There was also a Golden Age Puppetmaster, also at DC. He appeared once in Batman #3. He controlled people with thought serum. It was actually pretty unsettling. Puppetmaster is an actual profession, so I don't think you could do any copyright or trademarking with it. There is also a movie series of varying quality and various levels of entertainment, your miles may vary, called The Puppetmaster.
Pinhead, Blade, Ms. Leach, Jester, and Tunneler. The Puppetmaster.
There are 14 of them, time of recording. Another one due for late 2022, which hasn't dropped again, time of recording. So get excited for that. There's also a comic I used as a backdoor way in to just talk about the Puppetmaster series.
First, they made you smile. And then they made you die.
Now, as for the comic, we open on Carol Ferris. She's currently very heavily in her I will fawn over Green Lantern mode. She gets built up fairly quickly, and even in Showcase, she had already begun to move a bit out of that, but for some reason, this Green Lantern #1, she's just full-on obsessed. The thirst, I'm concerned. Yes, night and day and night, all I think about is Green Lantern. I wonder if my dream will ever come true and that someday he and I will marry. You're running a company. You should also be thinking about other things day and night. I even contacted Dad in his trip and persuaded him to agree to let me marry Green Lantern. Editor's note. Taking off on a 2-year round-the-world cruise, Willard Ferris left his pretty daughter in charge of his company, on condition that she avoid any romantic entanglements. One job, Carol. You had one job, aside from all the other things that it takes to run a company. Also, black lipstick, into it. If it ever comes to that. Getting Dad's permission was a breeze, but getting Green Lantern to propose is like trying to grab a handful of Quicksilver. Oh, so I see her dad wasn't that serious then. No romantic entanglements unless it's a superhero who can make the company look good. Maybe dating Green Lantern will boost the stock. Or will it? Carol is obsessed. Green Lantern will just say ordinary things, and she is convinced he is about to propose every time. It seemed like he was just on the verge of popping the question when... I've been thinking, Carol. Help! What's that? He could have been thinking about anything. That could even have been a lead up to a breakup sentence. You know, Carol, I've been thinking we should see other people because you're really obsessed and clingy and it's freaking me out. But he has to rush off to save someone, so she'll never know. Of course, the Emerald Gladiator with his incredible power ring saved the man, but By the time he got back to me, it was too late. The moment had passed, and he never did finish what he started to tell me. Stupid person drowning, stealing Carol's moment. I like that you can see in this issue that they can't decide between Emerald Gladiator and Green Gladiator, because we've seen both. They end up settling most of the time on Emerald, I guess because it sounds more grandiose than Green, but then you lose that sweet, sweet alliteration. She's just in her office waiting for a call from Green Lantern. He said he'd call after he finishes a charity parade. That just so happens to feature this terrifying puppet. Very apropos, because Hal is there to investigate a series of mysterious crimes wherein the perpetrators claim they were being controlled. They were all aware of what they were doing, but they couldn't stop themselves. They felt like puppets. It's odd, Green Lantern. Biffy is a well-known crook, but he's never pulled a bank job before. I'm inclined to credit his story that he's been under some kind of spell. Yeah. Murdering, stalking, sure, but bank robbery, not our Biffy. This must be the work of some kind of puppet master. This puppet over at the parade is a bit unsettling. Kane does a good job of making it just appear a bit off-center, tilted, very horror movie puppet. You can just look at the perspective and see that this puppet is up to no good. Nothing good will come of this puppet, and it doesn't. Then, as the green-clad crusader whirls, instantly on alert at the sound of gunfire. Bang! That huge puppet, part of the parade behind me, shooting a gun at me. Why did it have a gun prop in the first place? Why is the puppet strapped? Fully functional, why? It's a ray gun because of the code. Either way, it's not great that it's fully functional. Hal manages to make this look like part of the act, and the crowd is impressed. He then sees that the derrick operator was knocked out, and so he surmises it must have been the Puppetmaster, who we now get to see, but first, no hope of tracking down my enemy. I haven't a single clue. I might as well scoot back now and keep my date with Carol. Green Lantern's so obsessed. He loves me so much he's gonna propose any second. Well, I have nothing else to do. I guess I'll go on that date. The Puppetmaster has made a bold life choice of yellow 60s scientist garb. Très chic. He got the memo that GL can't do anything against yellow. Science can be used for good or evil. I chose the latter because it would be more profitable for me. It took years of hard work before I started to cash in on my scientific know-how. This is my prized invention, a machine that projects a hypno ray which forces anyone I focus on to obey my mental commands. Yet, I'm not all powerful. I am, however, very lonely, since I'm saying this all out loud to myself. They then introduce some standard hypnosis rules. You can't hypnotize someone to do something that they wouldn't normally do, something out of character. That's why he's been hypnotizing criminals, because apparently if you will do one crime, you will do all crime. Even though that's not what the police believed when they talked to Biffy. I've added a new Q circuit to my hypno ray. That ought to give it overwhelming power. There, I've zeroed him on Green Lantern. How? Now he's dancing at a nightclub. There's something very surreal about just seeing Green Lantern in Green Lantern garb out on a date. It also makes me really worry about his Green Lantern Hal Jordan life balance. Currently non-existent. But enough of that, it's time for one of my favorite things, Clumsy Hal. Unfortunately, this isn't just him being naturally clumsy, it's because of the Puppetmaster. It's artificial klutzery. He's been struck down by whatever a Q circuit is. It makes him step on Carol's foot and fall over backwards, which she just assumes is the latest dance move. It sucks him all the way back to the Puppetmaster's lair. Only psych, Hal was just pretending to be tugged along so he could see who was behind it all. I want to know more about the surveillance technology that the Puppetmaster has. It's very good. How did he just find Green Lantern like that? More deets on that, please. Now the Green Lantern is here, he notes to his horror that the Puppetmaster is wearing yellow, his one weakness. That and not charging his ring every 24 hours, and his natural clumsiness. But it's fine, he just manipulates a nearby cord and wraps the villain up, and then puppets him into the police station like a supervillain. And soon, with Green Lantern pulling the strings, march Puppetmaster straight to police headquarters. Tremble before Green Lantern. All those Yellow Lantern Hals make a lot more sense now, don't they? But of course, our ending is Carol pining for GL when Hal goes into the office thinking about how it would be too easy to win her over as Green Lantern. He wants to win her over as Hal Jordan, setting up the very unhealthy dynamic of him competing with himself. A classic. The end. This story is very much occupying its status as a backup story. It's quick, very by rote, and not as involved as the first story. You don't get as much development for Green Lantern or his world. However, there is a lot of fun to be had in some of these early Green Lantern outings. This is still the era where they're figuring out the ropes as to what exact type of threats Hal is gonna face. So he goes up against some random and bizarre things, and they're quite interesting to look back on. Some of them just don't gel with him thematically, and they're just there and happening. Why a giant puppet master? Actually, you could make that work, because you could kind of make a connection that Hal controls all these constructs with his will, and the Puppetmaster controls the people with his. It's a reach, but I'll make it. It's not that high of one. Hal struggles for quite some time developing a standout rogues gallery, and it can be argued that he never fully developed that strong of one. There are some standouts, but overall is a bit of a hodgepodge. I just love that the cover of Green Lantern #1 is Hal facing this giant puppet. You know, for all those people who collect and speculators, like, oh, this is an important issue. Look at this giant puppet. It just makes me smile, brings me joy, and seek out the joy in life where you can find it. The little things. Have fun with your hobbies. You need to be able to have a good time with yourself and amuse yourself, because you have to spend a lot of time in life with yourself. So get comfy. But now I want to hear from you. Who are some random rogues that the Green Gladiator has gone up against that you fondly remember? What do you think of this early backup story? Does Carol need to calm down? Just go jump in the lake? She needs to go jump in that lake. Tell me your thoughts down below. While you're down there, please do all the YouTube things. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so that you never miss a vid. Thanks so much for taking some time out of your day to spend discussing comics with me. I always appreciate it. I will see you again soon. Check it out. I got my Witchblade. Bye-bye.